Have you ever seen a moment so wrong, so unjust, so violently twisted against the truth, that your breath stopped before your mind even understood what it was seeing? A moment when power crushed honesty, when lies wore badges, and when silence felt like a crime of its own? This isn't a story about heroes. It's a story about what happens when one woman refuses to let corruption decide who gets to walk free and who gets buried under fabricated guilt. This is the moment everything changed, and it started the night General Evelyn Cross walked into a room she wasn't supposed to be in. Evelyn Cross never liked the feeling of fluorescent lights. They hummed with a kind of artificial calmness she didn't trust. On the night everything began, those lights flickered faintly above the long, empty corridor of the Eastbridge military complex. Her boots clicked steadily on the cold floor, echoing through the silence like a warning no one else could hear. She always arrived earlier than everyone else. Discipline wasn't a habit for her. Discipline was the thing that had kept her alive during the worst years of her service. But that night, something in the air felt different. The stillness wasn't peaceful. It was watching her, waiting. Outside, rain slapped against the high, reinforced windows, streaking down the glass in frantic, uneven patterns. Inside her chest, a similar unease pulsed, soft at first, then stronger. She reached for the keycard around her neck and tapped it against the security panel. The heavy door clicked open, revealing the operations room. She stepped inside, expecting darkness. Instead, she found one screen still glowing blue in the far corner. Someone had left a system logged in. That never happened. Evelyn's jaw tightened. She walked to the console, her hand hovering just a moment above the mouse. The screen displayed an encrypted internal file titled Project Meridian, Internal Review Evidence. She hadn't authorized that designation. No one was supposed to access that folder without her direct clearance. She hesitated, then clicked. The video that opened changed her life forever. A man sat in an interrogation room, hands cuffed to the table. His face was bruised, swollen under the eyes, and blood trickled from his split lip. His name appeared on the lower left corner, Lieutenant Aaron Miles. Evelyn stiffened. Aaron wasn't just any officer. He was one of the most disciplined, morally unshakable men she had ever commanded. She leaned forward slightly as a second man entered the frame, Captain Roland Pike. His uniform looked crisp, perfectly aligned, but his smile, tight, curved, satisfied, was wrong. "Say it!" Pike demanded, slamming a folder onto the metal table. Aaron flinched but kept his chin set. "I didn't leak anything," Aaron said quietly. "I didn't betray anyone." Pike leaned in, his mouth dangerously close to Aaron's ear. "You think the truth matters? You embarrassed the wrong people. You asked questions you shouldn't have. Someone has to take the fall." Evelyn's heartbeat hammered in her ears. She remembered the last time she saw Aaron, a week earlier. He had come to her office with concerns about unauthorized drone shipments, leaving the compound at night. She had told him she would personally investigate it, but she had been called out of town the next morning for a briefing, and when she returned, Aaron was suspended pending investigation for security breaches. Now she knew the truth. She pressed play again. In the footage, Pike grabbed Aaron's hair, yanking his head backward. "Confess," he ordered, "or I'll make sure you disappear so completely even God won't remember you." Evelyn felt heat rise in her chest, a slow, controlled fury. She clicked through the rest of the file. More footage, more beatings, more threats, all designed to force a fabricated confession. She closed her eyes for a moment. Her breath came out heavy, steady. This wasn't disciplinary action. This was a cover-up. A brutal one, a dangerous one. And whoever orchestrated it had enough power to believe no one would ever challenge them. She opened her eyes and the world inside her sharpened. She downloaded all the files onto a secured drive, yanked it from the console, and locked the system. Her jaw was set like stone. Aaron Miles was innocent, and someone in Eastbridge Command wanted him destroyed. She left the operations room and dialed her second-in-command, Major Ellis Rowan. "Meet me in my office." Now, she didn't give him time to respond. She strode through the corridor, her steps faster now, controlled but fueled by urgency. As she approached her office, she noticed a shadow move behind the frosted glass of her door. She paused. The building wasn't supposed to have anyone inside yet besides her. She pushed the door open sharply. Captain Roland Pike stood inside her office. He turned slowly, offering her a smile that didn't match the coldness in his eyes. "General Cross," he said softly. "Early start?" Evelyn didn't blink. "You're in my office without authorization." He shrugged mildly. "Just routine checks." "Security sweep." Evelyn stepped closer, her voice dangerously quiet. "Security sweeps don't involve rifling through a commander's desk." His smile widened. "You checked the logs, didn't you?" Something inside her chest tightened. He knew. Evelyn didn't show a flicker of expression. "Get out of my office." Pike leaned casually against the desk. "You're a smart woman, so I'll give you a piece of advice. Forget what you saw. Aaron Miles put himself in this position. Let him take the punishment and walk away with your rank intact." "Get out!" she repeated, her voice colder than steel. Pike stepped forward, stopping only inches from her. He whispered, "Push this any further, and you won't just lose your command. You'll lose everything." For a moment, the room felt suffocating, thick with the poisonous confidence of a man protected by a system built for corruption. Pike brushed past her casually and walked out the door. The second he disappeared down the hall, Evelyn exhaled and locked the door behind him. She leaned her hands on the desk, breathing hard. They knew she knew, which meant she didn't have much time. Ellis arrived moments later, out of breath and confused. "General? What's wrong?" Evelyn tossed the secured drive onto the table. "Everything. Someone's running an off-record operation inside this base. They're framing Aaron Miles. I have video evidence." Ellis paled. "If Pike is involved, the others—" "I know," Evelyn interrupted. "This goes higher." They spent the next hour watching footage, reviewing files, tracing access logs. The deeper they dug, the darker the patterns became. The unauthorized drone shipments, the altered budgets, the erased surveillance feeds. It all pointed to a covert network within. Eastbridge Command. Someone was moving weapons off record. Someone was stealing millions from military supplies. Someone was eliminating anyone who asked too many questions, Aaron Miles had asked. Now Evelyn Cross had asked too. As dawn crept across the sky, painting the windows with a pale gray light, Evelyn made her decision. She walked to the interrogation block herself. The guards stiffened when they saw her. She flashed her clearance, her tone sharp. "Open cell 14. When Aaron looked up at her, his eyes were tired, bloodshot, and full of disbelief. He whispered, "General, why are you here?" "Because you told the truth," she answered. "And they punished you for it." He lowered his eyes, ashamed of his broken state. Evelyn knelt beside him. "Aaron, listen to me. I'm getting you out of here, but I need you to trust me completely." He nodded weakly. She unshackled him. Her hands were steady, her mind sharper than it had ever been. As she helped him stand, Aaron whispered something that made her heart twist. "They said no one would ever help me." Evelyn met his gaze. They were wrong. Behind them, a sudden alarm blared. Someone had triggered a breach alert. Pike. Evelyn tightened her grip on Aaron's arm. Move, she led him through maintenance corridors, bypassing main patrol routes. Every second counted. Alarms echoed overhead. Heavy boots thundered through the hallways. Voices cracked through radios. "General Cross has the prisoner!" "Block all exits!" Evelyn's breath stayed steady. She had spent a lifetime navigating hostile territories. This was no different, except this time, the enemy wore the same uniform she did. They reached the east loading bay. Ellis waited there with a transport vehicle already running. "Hurry!" he shouted. Aaron climbed in, wincing. Evelyn was right behind him when a gunshot exploded across the concrete. The bullet struck the doorframe inches from her head. Pike's voice boomed across the bay. "Evelyn, don't do this!" She turned slowly. Pike stood at the far entrance, gun raised, fury burning in his eyes. Behind him, armed officers lined up like a firing squad. Pike shouted, "You're throwing away your career for a traitor!" Evelyn stepped forward, her voice rising like thunder. "He's not a traitor." "He's the only honest man in this entire damn base." Pike laughed bitterly. "Truth doesn't matter here. Power does." Evelyn raised her chin. "Not anymore." The loading bay doors slammed open. Ellis hit the accelerator. The vehicle lunged forward. Evelyn dove inside just as bullets tore across the metal frame. They sped out of the compound, the base shrinking behind them as alarms screamed into the morning sky. Aaron slumped against the seat, exhausted. Evelyn looked out the window at the rising sun. Her mind raced, not with fear, but with clarity. They had evidence. They had the truth. But the men they were fighting had power, influence, and an entire system shielding them. Ellis asked, "Where do we go now?" Evelyn answered without hesitation, "We expose everything." The vehicle drove on. Far behind them, East Bridge Command erupted into chaos. Whispers spread like wildfire. The woman they thought would never defy them, the general who lived by rules, order, discipline, had just broken every regulation in the book to protect the truth. And that truth was a threat more dangerous than any weapon they had ever smuggled. The conspiracy thought it had silenced Aaron Miles. They thought Evelyn Cross was predictable. They were wrong. She wasn't fighting for rank anymore. She wasn't protecting a uniform. She was protecting what the uniform was supposed to stand for. And she would burn the entire system down before she let corruption destroy another innocent life. The war had begun, not on a battlefield, but inside the walls of her own command. A war where the truth was the only weapon she had, and she intended to use it.